Hi there and welcome to this webcast. It's me, Bruce Dransfield from Zycon Colour Services, and today we're going to look at what can colour management do for me. Business cases. We're going to look at three main business drivers: consistent quality, gaining uptime and cost savings. So let's step straight in here and let's investigate quality. So quality is both subjective and objective, but ultimately we need to be able to produce a product which is of the right consistency and quality in terms of colour, but is also repeatable. So we have quality control and we also have a product. If we have that, we can set expectations. We know what we can do. Or we can remove any colour surprises and hopefully make the colour workflow as painless as possible. So in our first case study, we're looking at a commercial printer, and like many commercial printers, the print they do are for end users who are, if they're blue chip, are using advertising agencies to make the file, make the design, and also will supply a proof to the customer, especially when it's a high value product. Now, by supplying a proof, it means that the colour and content has already been accepted by the end customer. So an expectation has already been set. The problem this company faced was they were given a proof and a file, and because they were not using colour management, they were near but not near enough, which often meant they were wrong first time. And so this would lead into a cycle of trying to edit the file either via the press or via pre-press. However, this would eat up a lot of time and was always ending up in a compromise. However, lucky for us, the proof is a digital proof, and if you understand the rules of colour management, we understand what this proof is actually showing us. We can copy and paste that result onto our Zycon. How do we do this? Well, we call it an optimization process. So by taking a measurement from our Zycon and then calculating in our software Zycon Colour Control the request, what we actually want to see, we can then load that print condition onto our engines, and here presto, we can match the customer's requirements. In this case, it was to print to FOGRA 39, but once we're at this stage, we can print to any other expected colour condition we need. So that could be also for the USA, and even a tailored profile, so the Zycon is representing or printing like another process you have. So it's a very simple process to do this, and there's but the results speak for themselves. So now you have smooth production, you have a right first time production. There's no tweaking, there's no need for any chefing with the press or in pre-press, and that gives you a very sane production environment. And if you deliver on time and you meet those expectations, then of course you're going to have a very satisfied customer, and also your press is going to be only producing quality work. So the lesson here was that they were trying to fix colour by guesswork, and you move from guesswork and applying all your experience in pre-press and press to fire and forget. Often this company would lose as much as a week's production, simply because they would first of all try to get something there, but eventually they would end up with a compromise which would then lead to approval rounds once again. And remember, the customer had already approved the proof. Now I've put some numbers on the screen here, but I'm sure you can apply your own numbers if this kind of situation rings any bells for you. Okay. The next subject is uptime. We want to have the most efficient production environment. Especially if we have an environment where we have 5 toners, so we have a wide gamut environment. We want to make sure that we are using these toners in the most optimized fashion, because what we want is the best color, but we want to make sure that we are efficient in doing so, which means we need a streamlined production. We don't want to put everything or all the responsibility at the end of the production cycle, which is the press and the rip. We want to distribute as much as we can with the staff we have in our building certain tasks. So in this particular case study, we have a customer who from day one recognized that for his business and his clientele, he couldn't compromise on color. He needed the best color first time, and so he opted for a wide gamut system because he had the demands from the field. Also, he had a business where often the pre-printed samples, where the colour in the sample didn't represent what was in a Pantone book but needed to be reproduced, was a core part of his business. And he realised that there was going to be a certain downtime in production if he was swapping toners. So how to minimise this hole in your production. So these were the demands. So let's have a look at what we did. Let's just discuss this a little bit further. So if you are stepping into a wide gamut concept, however good your pre-press skills are, you will never guess the correct separation to give you the best possible result. However, our softwares like on Color Control and Color Forecaster Pro are perfect tools for this. So you remove maybe hours, sometimes days of guesswork for a process that takes seconds. When we're faced with matching samples, again, we need to be able to measure those samples and prepare the job. This can't be done at the press as a guess or a trial and error. You will lose time and effort. So let's push the idea behind this is let's use our tools and maybe push it downstream back to pre-press, where people have skills and can work with software in a more efficient way, keeping the press free from being used as an experimental machine. And finally, changing toners. There's an impact on your production time when you swap a toner. So it makes perfect sense that we try to group jobs in such a way that the uptime on the toner in a toner configuration is maintained the same. Now, this is not a question for the pressman again. So this is all in the job planning. This needs to be pushed even further back to order processing and job planning. Let's have a look at what we did. So of course, to make this work, we implemented colour management tools like Colour Control and Colour Forecaster Pro. And the first part of the workflow is obviously the planning of the jobs. Lucky for us, we have very strong predictive tools which are great for people in order processing and job planning, where they can look at what the customer's requirements are and group the jobs appropriately. This means the most efficient use of the press and includes uptime. Next was the question around our pre-printed samples. So who best to do this? The pressman or downstream from him in a preparation place? A studio is a great environment to do this, and staff within these environments are very switched on to graphics software. So they take to this processing, which is measuring a sample and preparing the job ready for print long before it actually needs printing. So again, everything is ready on the press and being controlled by pre-press beforehand. So this is again giving you much more uptime on your printing machine. And finally, because of our workflow is truly optimized, then we are always giving the best possible result every single time. So again, this affects your uptime. I hope this diagram makes sense to everybody watching, and I'm sure for your business it has it maybe rings some bells and rings true. Next, we're going to look at cost savings. So everybody wants to reduce their material costs. This has effect on reducing maintenance cycles. You can have flexible costings, and you can increase your margins. So what did we have in case study number 3? We have a document customer printing blue chip publications. Within this organization, which was a very large conventional printer, they have already decided that their house standard is ISO coated or FOGRA 39, and this is what all proofs and all printing is driven to. So we have blue chip publications, and we also have a goal. So there's a line in the sand already being drawn. We know what we have to produce to. So we need to step in there with, like in case study number 1, and make sure our print quality hits this standard, and also the standard is maintained. But then we have another challenge. To reduce costs for this customer, we have to look at a way of maintaining the quality by reducing the amount of toner necessary to reproduce the same or very similar print quality. And again, how did we do this? Well, we used our Icon Colour Control software, and this helps us, or this not helps us, this facilitates this possibility. This is a whole webcast by itself to discuss the technicalities, but from a very simple business point of view, it takes a little bit of training and 4 or 5 minutes to create these environments. So here's the numbers. So what are we looking at on this particular graph? What we have is on this axis is the percentage of toner saved. In these columns we see no color management. So what do we mean by this? This is the default printing on a Zycon toner press without ICC color management in 4 colors. So obviously there's no savings here because it is what it is. It's default. We had a heavy coverage document, a medium coverage, and a light coverage. And what we see as we step straight in our standard, using our standard profile, that the heavy coverage is already saving 34%, and as we turn the gas up on this, we actually move here to 50%. So the biggest impact is on the heavy coverage, which is great. You can imagine that on a document with hardly any coverage, there's very little we can do. But we see here, we see a percentage trend on a medium coverage document, and even on the light coverage, it's not till we move to our most aggressive setting where we see 15. The biggest question, which I can't really show you in PowerPoint, is what was the visual changes. Between 1 and 2 you would see no difference. There was an impact in quality on this level for sure, but it was still perfectly sellable. So the concept here is that you have control over your usage of consumables. So the benefits, I think, are quite obvious when we talk about reducing costs, but one of the things maybe is not considered is you have a choice on cost. Now, you also reduce your maintenance cycle cost pro rata. You're putting less toner through your machine, and so you actually increase your uptime and become more productive. So those are our 3 case studies, and I hope they've been of interest. And just to round off this presentation, what may be some of you may have worked out is whatever the driver is you start with, so be it quality, uptime or cost savings, if you use our tools you actually benefit for all the other 2 things. As you are probably all aware, we are introducing our Panther technology, and our colour management systems work for our totally cross-platform, and will work with third-party machines as well. So thank you for your time. I hope it's been of interest, and if you do have any questions, you can always email me at bruce.dransfield@theflintgroup.com. And again, thank you very much.